Okay, hi everybody. It's so good to see you all. We're here in October 2025, and it feels like one of the longest months of my life with just how many changes have come about with AI. There's just so many things happening right now, and we'll get into it a little bit later. But in case you've never met me before, my name is Sharon Chaden Bergson, and I'm a senior instructional designer at Sinclair Community College. And I'm real excited to bring two new guest speakers to you today. Our first guest speaker is Joseph Tetreault. I almost said it right, Tetreault. Tetreault, I was so close. And our second guest speaker is Laine Istvan. And so I'm going to hand it over to Joseph first, and we'll get to hear a little bit about how he got into his current role. All you, Joseph.
Awesome. Thank you very much. It's nice to see everyone here. I know that I've gone in and been in several of these sessions before, and I've watched the recordings of ones that I wasn't able to get to. And so it's such an awesome community, and it's such an awesome way to either get to start networking if you're early in the process or continue networking and growing your network. And so it's really awesome to see all of you here and get a chance to talk to you. So just to kind of introduce and give you some context and some background for me, so I was in the classroom for 11 years. I taught in Philadelphia, and I taught high school social studies. And so I really liked it. I was really into it and everything. And that's obviously what I went to got my undergrad for and everything. And at a certain point in time, as happens with a lot of teachers, if any of you are teachers, I got to the point where I was starting to feel a little bit of a push to try to look for something else. It was a lot of different factors that went into that decision, but really, I was feeling kind of the pull to try to expand and go into different roles and everything. And so the process for me really started about 2 years ago. I really kind of settled on the idea of, I really want to try to make it a point to start going through this process and see what I can do to transition. But it was really last year, at the beginning of last school year, so this was last August of 2024, that I really kind of doubled down on that and decided that I wanted to do the full job search. And so that was a bit of a scary process for me, as I'm sure a lot of you can understand, because as a teacher, you don't really have too many instances where you're having to network or really do anything on LinkedIn for teaching. If you're familiar with the process, you kind of, if you want to go to a different school, you apply to that different school, you maybe do an interview or two, and then you either get it or you don't. And there's not really any kind of LinkedIn process. There's not really any kind of like, well, you have to network with these people and these people and these people to really kind of find opportunities. And so that was all new to me. I had created a LinkedIn in college because one of my professors said that it would be a good thing to do. But that was a long, long time ago. And so I hadn't touched it since then. I hadn't really done anything with it. And so my LinkedIn was literally just my email. It was attached to my email, and it was my email picture, which was a very generic picture of mountains or something like that. And so that was my LinkedIn, and it had been for all the years that I had had it. And so at the beginning of the process, that was really scary in and of itself. Trying to figure out the whole world of LinkedIn and what that looked like and how I would navigate that when I hadn't been familiar with it at all. And so I started the process and dove right in, and I had a friend of mine who worked in recruiting and kind of in the field of trying to get people two different jobs and to his company and everything like that. And so I asked him, like, what do I do? What should I try to focus on first? And he encouraged me to really do the deep dive on LinkedIn and revamp my LinkedIn and try to make it something that was going to be an asset for me. And so I tried to look up some videos. I tried to look up some tutorials about like, oh, how do I do this? And went through the whole process of completely revamping my LinkedIn, adding work experience that I had had over the years that hadn't been there because I hadn't touched my LinkedIn, and also redesigning what it looked like, what my description looked like, what my role descriptions for each role that I've had looked like, and even just the tagline at the top focusing on, well, what does a good LinkedIn tagline look like, and how can I make that work for me? And so I did that whole revamp, and then went through the process of really trying to find something. And so that was August of last year, 2024. And from there, it was a slog, and it was a lot of work trying to do all of the things that everyone suggests you do in a job search, especially when you're trying to transition into a full-time ID role. And it's all the stuff that you've likely heard before. It's networking, it's finding the right applications and revamping your resume and doing all of that. And so I really tried to go deep in doing all of that and doing all of that well. And it was a long process. There was a long stretch of time from August to really July of this year, where I was applying. I had at least 150 to 200 applications. At a certain point, I stopped counting because it was to a certain, to be honest, it was kind of depressing me. I was like, this is so many applications. I'm sending these to so many places, and some of them I'm hearing something back from. Some of them I'm hearing nothing back from. But I hadn't really gotten any progress in breaking into like fully getting interview opportunities. I had had a couple instances where people had me do like a screener, and then didn't hear back from them. And so it was a process where it was at points really discouraging in the sense of like, I don't know what's going to happen, and we'll see. But I tried to keep chugging at it and tried to keep learning and kept trying to expand on my skills and expand on what I could offer and what I could put in my LinkedIn and what I could tell possible employers and put in my applications and everything. And eventually, I saw an application, a role on LinkedIn, and that was where I was doing a lot of my applications, and it was for Wawa, and I'm from the Philly area. And so if you're not from the Philly area, you might not be familiar with Wawa, but it's a big deal here. It's like Wawa is like a cultural staple in the Philly area, and it's a convenience store, and a lot of people associate it with being a gas station. I see Donette is nodding like yes, Wawa all the way. Wawa is
Maryland,
like
gotcha. I
Sheets.
know.
Yeah. I'm insulted by that, Sharon. I'm just kidding. Um, no, Sheets has its good things. They both are really good in their own ways. But yeah, it's a lot of people associate it with being like a gas station, like a kind of a glorified 7-Eleven or a glorified, Royal Farm. Some people compare it to like Buc-ee's in like the in Texas and I think it's Southeast. I don't know. They're expanding too. But it's a company that I'd had a lot of experience with just on the customer side. I've grown up with Wawa. Oh, it's in Colorado now too. Wow. And Sheets French toast sticks, I have had those. Those are delicious. So that's one of the things they have going for them. Um, but Wawa is a company that I really have a lot of familiarity with and a lot of love for because I grew up in the middle of nowhere in South Jersey, in what's called the Pine Barrens, and there's nothing there. It's literally just woods. And so like the closest grocery store was 20 minutes away. The closest movie theater was 45 minutes away and everything like that. So everything was really far away, but the one thing that was really close to my house was a Wawa that was 5 minutes down the street. And then even now where I live in Bucks County in Pennsylvania, there's a Wawa 5 minute walk down the road from us. So Wawa has kind of followed me all the way through my life. And so when I saw the job posting for Wawa, I was like, all right, well, I gotta apply for this. It's for an instructional designer role. And so I felt confident in the resume that I was sending in, because not only did I have the experience that I was able to build, like even in my teaching experience, I had done some instructional design work. In the past couple of years, I'd been doing some freelance instructional design work, and so I felt confident in applying to the role. But it was still something that was like, I don't know. I've sent so many applications and kind of gotten invested in so many things that I'm not sure how this goes. And so I got a call back and I got an interview request. I did a phone interview first, and then they liked me enough apparently that they then asked me back for a Zoom interview. And then from there, they apparently still liked me and weren't scared away by me yet. And so asked me to do a an in-person interview as my final interview. And I went all in on really kind of making the idea of that last interview was to create a learning experience for a fake new product that Wawa was, quote unquote, going to launch. And they told me to be creative and just to kind of come up with what I thought was a good learning experience and was, have fun with it and all that kind of stuff. And it was pretty general. But I wanted to really try to make it the best that I could. And so I went all in on really designing something that I thought was really good and looked really good and got across my skills. Um, and so I went into that last interview and they liked it well enough and thought that the ideas that I had and the experience that I had built were really good. And so they offered me the job from there. And so that moment, that idea of like that whole process leading into this role at a company that I really love and really appreciate, was one of those things where the process was so long and was such a slog and was such like all of that hard work that went into it, that ultimately getting to the end of that road was really, really rewarding. And it takes absolutely, it takes time. It takes a lot of like self doubt and a lot of like, should I even transition? Especially as a teacher, I kind of felt like I didn't even know whether people were looking to have me come out of the classroom and into their company. And I wasn't sure, I had some conversations with people where it kind of seemed like there might be a bit of a like, wow, you're just a teacher. We don't need you in our company. But I still kept applying and it's still kept going at it and ultimately got somewhere that I really enjoy. And so I've been there a month and a half now. And I'm really, really enjoying the work. I'm really enjoying the people. And it ultimately makes that process, as cheesy as it sounds, makes that process worth it in the end. And so that's where I'm at now. And I'm excited to share any other details with anyone that is curious. I also made a job aid for job aid. I made a job aid that I'll share out with everyone, just like with some tips, some ideas, some things that I found helpful in my search. In case it's helpful for everyone else, I'll share that out with everyone during our time here. But just something that I think can be helpful because there's so much information out there, and a lot of it is very similar in terms of, well, you got to network and you got to build on LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. And so I think it's always helpful to have some directed guidance. And so I'll share that out and I'll be happy to answer any questions that anyone has in the session as we keep going. So that's where I'm at.
Awesome. I'm excited about the job aid.
Yeah.
It's really helpful when just any people love resources just to, put in their little toolkit.
Hmm.
Never know when it's going to be useful.
Yeah.
Um, Lane, are you ready? Let's get you spotlighted.
Yep, I'm ready.
Mhm.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Laine Istvan, and I was here like 5 years ago. I think it was like November of 2020. I had just transitioned out of the classroom in September, so it's kind of fun to be back here 5 years later. I actually watched my YouTube video and I was like, oh, you know. And so anyway. I transitioned out of the classroom in September of 2020. And it sounds like I planned that on purpose, but I actually didn't. It was very coincidental, because of COVID and everything. I had planned to leave the classroom probably like 2015, 2016. And, for various reasons, I waited. I had young children and I wasn't entirely ready to make that transition. I was trying to find ways that I could stay with the district. I really enjoyed um, like guidance, so I thought maybe I could go back to school. I could get my degree in guidance counseling. But when I ran the numbers, it just didn't make sense because guidance counselors make the same basically as teachers. So it was going to take me years to pay it back. And I know I didn't want to do the ed leadership route because it just wasn't for me. I had seen a lot of teachers actually get into the AP pool, become, assistant principals and principals, and like they just changed. They became different people, right? And so I was like, no, I don't think that's for me either. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I felt a little bit stuck until a local college came to my school, and they were, of course, trying to recruit people to their programs. And, I sort of flippantly said to the lady, I don't want to do ed leadership. What else do you have? And she's like, oh, well, we have this program called instructional design. And I said, well, tell me more about that. I'd love to hear more. And she explained to me that a lot of times when teachers retired or they were looking to make a change out of the classroom, that this was a field that they went into, and it entailed building trainings for adult learners and computer-based training and workshops and things like that. And I said, wow, that sounds great. I really like that. I think that's I would love to do that. So I ended up joining that program for my master's degree. And just to be clear, I don't think that it's really necessary in today's day. It may be in higher ed in some specific instances, but it's not required, right, to leave the classroom. But for me, and at the time, I felt like that's what I needed to do. I felt like it would give me some more credibility, and I felt like it was going to give me the confidence that I needed to leave the classroom, because I had sort of that mentality of, oh, I'm a teacher, right? Like, who's going to want to hire me? What can I offer? Because I had been teaching for 15 years at that point. So went back, got my degree, and it was August of 2020, and we were going back to school, and we had a late start, right, because of COVID. And I was really hoping and praying that I could um, get a role that I wouldn't have to leave mid-year, because that was really important to me. I didn't want to leave my students, and especially the year post-COVID. It was, it was kind of crazy. So I was very fortunate that I was able to land a role. And I had two offers, actually. The first offer was with the Florida Virtual School. And my second offer was with an instructional designer. I actually called it a learning experience design role. And I was like, oh no, what do I do? Because I was sort of excited to work in Florida Virtual, but at the same time, I'm like, no, I went back for this degree. I had a whole purpose. Like, I need to, this is what I need to do. And I'm really glad I did. It all worked out. So my first role was full time. It was higher ed adjacent, and it was with a company that is an online program management company. So they build courses for colleges, either in-person courses, or they sort of update them. I was with them for about 9 months, and I felt like I learned everything that I could in that role because I wanted to do more. I was really primarily writing courses and curriculum and storyboarding, and I wanted to do other cool stuff. I wanted to develop, right? I wanted to make videos. I wanted to do courses. I wanted to do the evaluation. I wanted to do everything. So um, I left that position and took another full-time role at an insurance company. And that was great. I had a lot of autonomy. I learned a ton. I was able to definitely do a lot. It was sort of, what do they call them? Working in a silo, where we sort of like do all the things. So I wasn't entirely in a silo, but it was definitely a self-contained position. And I, at that time, I started freelancing as well because I was looking for some variety. Yes, I was doing all the things, but it was really just insurance. And so I had interests outside of that. So I started doing some freelancing and started working with a company called ID Lance. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of them. They're wonderful. They are a freelance community, and I started doing business development with them. So I got a lot of experience. Joseph, you must be part of the community. Yes, they're awesome. And so I started doing some business development. I gained a lot of experience writing proposals, scoping work, pricing out. instructional design services. And at the same time, I was also doing instructional design work. And I really credit them with helping me make that leap from full-time employee to full-time freelancer because they really gave me that confidence and the support that I needed. So since then, I full-time contractor, full-time, I call myself an independent, independent instructional designer. And I do have a full-time contract, but in addition to that, I have other contracts that I bring in along the way. I'm happy to share, how I do that. And just a lot of networking and being on different Slack boards, and it's wonderful. I love it. So if you're interested in that trajectory, I'm happy to share and talk with you. And I don't have any recent experience of leaving teaching and going into the field, but I'm happy to share my experience as well.
You are not the only person that we've had on who has talked about ID Lance. I think it was Kristen Lillywhite who first brought it up in one of our sessions. So it is really nice whenever I hear it come up. I'm like, I know what that is. That's super cool. All right,
So
let us pause here. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Before we do the little AI hack that I had planned and whole group Q&A, I want to remind you that our next session is Tuesday, November 4th from 7 to 8 p.m. And if you want to go ahead and get registered, the link is in the chat. And excited to share this AI hack I just learned about today because there's a faculty member at my institution who just loves AI, so he shares stuff with me every now and then. So in Canva, this is when you first log in, and you can do this with the free account. You have more tokens and I guess more functionality and more prompts or more attempts at prompts, refinements if you have the paid account. So you have this Canva AI. When you click on that, you can type a prompt in here describing something that you need coded on a page. So he demoed it. He asked for um, a working page for a BMI calculator, and it created one. I tried. I need a working page for a weight height growth chart for boys and girls that user can enter percentiles and see where their child is on the growth chart. So it creates this over here, and I haven't verified that it's doing it correctly. That's part of the process is making sure that it is doing what it needs to do. I think at first glance looks pretty good. I put in, okay, this is a 7-month-old boy. He weighs 14 kilograms and he's 50 centimeters tall. Wow, he is a heavy child, but very short. So, anyway, here's what you do with it. You go in here. This is the code. You don't need to know how to do anything with the code. You copy that code and then you go into Rise. And Rise has a couple new things. This button was added on Friday. If you go this route, you can create your whole course from AI with a prompt and with source material. So you can type the prompt, what kind of course you're making, and upload your sources here. And then it doesn't do it all at one go. It takes you step by step and you verify things as it goes. And then ultimately it makes the whole course. It's not 100% beautiful. You have to go back in and add images and things, but it sketches the whole thing out for you. It's super cool. But what I want to show you is in the block. So I copied the code. If you go into any course that you're making and you go to the code block, like in here. So I'm going to add a block. I'm going to go to code and I'm going to paste that code that I picked up from Canva AI and then it puts it right in the rise piece. Yeah. So I also have been playing, this is called vibe coding, this, creating a prompt and then it creates a web page for you. I used Lovable AI over the last month. I was not able to take what I made in Lovable AI and put it in Rise pieces easily. There was something in the file structure that I had to work with one of our coders to figure out. But this worked without a problem. I don't know what the problem is yet. I'm sure there's something, but it is massively helpful. And I just wanted to make sure that I shared that with you while you're all here today.
Quick
So
question,
Now,
Sharon, do you have to have the AI tool, pay for the AI tool if you just have basic articulate rise?
I
You can
don't,
do that without the
I'm
using
not
the A
sure.
tool?
I'm
Oh,
not
okay.
sure if you can use if you don't have the AI assistant in Articulate Rise, I don't know. Because I have that with my license through my employer, but I am not sure. I know that you can use Canva AI and get the code. That part I am sure about. It's a good question.
I'm going to test it out on mine because
Yeah,
I don't pay for the AI in my personal Rise.
awesome. So
So I'll
she's gonna
let you
let
know.
know. All right, let's go to your questions. What questions do you have? Joseph loves Canva. Feel free to unmute yourself if you want.
Okay, I have an answer.
All right.
They do have the code block. So even if you don't pay for the AI, the Rise AI,
Mhm.
there's still a block where you can add code. So that's
So there you
cool.
go. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that is super cool. It's always nice when things are free, but there's always that part of me in my brain that's like, but when will you turn this off? Make me
Mhm.
pay.
Pay for your brain.
Yikes. Anyway,
Now, do you know if you stop paying for Canva Pro, will that still work?
I think so, because you just copied the code. The code's not housed on Canva. The issue I was having with Lovable was that I had to connect it to GitHub so those files were living somewhere, or so that it could package the files together. And then I downloaded it as a zip, I think. But when we tried to move that zip file to our server, the file structure was set up in a way that it wasn't opening the way that it should. So that was there. One of our coders needed to move files around to make it talk to each other correctly. So that was a little annoying.
Well, I have a question about your Lovable project. What were you trying to, what was the project?
I can show you. What I was trying to do was figure out a way to redesign a bunch of branching scenarios. Um, we had an H5P license, well, we do right now, but it is going away. And so I created a bunch of assets in H5P, and I needed to figure out a way to, because we were going to lose access to them, and I needed to figure out a way to have them permanently. So what I built, let me see if I can bring it up here real quick. Oh, there it is. Okay, so share my screen. So this is one that is currently in a piece. It is a branching scenario about how cultural beliefs interact in a healthcare setting. So this patient, this healthcare professional is talking with her patient about taking medicine during Ramadan. So there's a different decision points. What do you do? Oh, maybe you say this. Oh, that's not right. Consider this. So anyway, I had this previously in H5P and I needed something different. So yeah, I did it in Lovable. And so this is all packaged up and we got the files the way they need to be. And now um, it works. And then each one, yeah, there's a couple different decision points. I also tried doing something that was kind of a pain point in a physics class was circuits, building a circuit. So this was the prompt. Had the learning outcomes in there, kind of what I envisioned students doing. And some of this is also generated in AI, and some of it isn't. Um, I asked ChatGPT for recommendations about what it would need in a prompt, and then put that all in here. And then it created this over here, and I'm still testing this out. So you drag a battery in. There's a battery. I don't really like the way that looks. But anyway, yeah, this is still in flux. But yeah, you kind of get the point. You add these different things and you can connect them. And then as you go through it, it checks off what's been done. But yeah, this is still being worked on. Those are kind of some of the things that I'm building.
Those are cool. Is that a paid account?
This is right now, and I'm trying to figure out what to do about that because these assets are there. So if I want to continue to access these assets, I have to pay. Unless, like I said, I pull them off through GitHub, package a file, and then take it with me. Then I have it. But that's that last step that needs to happen in order for it to live somewhere else forever. AI is it's cool, but I feel like it so much goes, I can't keep up. And I'm in it every day. Every day.
Yeah, I agree. It changes so fast. So you know, it feels like it's hard to keep up sometimes, but I find a lot of my information on YouTube, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
There's a lot of good information out there. People willing to show you what they're doing.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that was something that for me kind of arrested me for for a little bit of like there is so much that's changing and constantly going and everything about like that about AI that I was like, well, I'm never going to keep up. So let me like just wait till it slows down a bit and then I'll and then I'll catch up. And you never catch up.
No.
And so like I just kind of took the plunge at one point and was like, all right, let me try to start tweaking things and trying things out and everything like that and that's something I mean to the point of like transitioning and everything like that that's something that can be really marketable as well even just like I've played with this right because a lot of employers and a lot of companies are playing with it as well and know that you're not going to be able to keep up with everything so even just being able to say I've played with this I've programmed an AI chat bot at one point. I like that was something that I was able to say because I put that into my portfolio, like the ability for people to say, like, I want to find out more about Joe. So let me like ask this chat bot that's in his portfolio. And it wasn't anything that's super complicated, but it was something that I was able to then say, like, I've programmed this. I'm trying it out, and that can be something that's really helpful, in terms of like trying to keep up with AI, and also even in the process of trying to like apply and interview and everything like that. So to your point, just like trying it out can be really, really valuable.
Yeah, and having a purpose too, right? If you're being intentional with it, sometimes it's like it's so nebulous. There's so much stuff out there. It's like, oh, what do I try? What do I do? But if you have something in mind and you have a purpose, then that kind of helps focus you. But I think also too, just having a really good network and having people that you can share with and, be able to say, okay, I tried this. What did you try? And kind of share the knowledge, share the knowledge and experience, I think is always a good thing.
All right. I think that brings us right to 8 o'clock. I put the feedback form for tonight if you want to leave me some feedback, and also drop the link to the AI chatbots webinar that I gave a couple weeks ago if you weren't able to make it and you want to see my slides. Happy to share that with you. And I want to say thank you to Joseph and Laine for joining us tonight and sharing your journey and what's worked for you. And it's always so wonderful when people share, pay it forward, and help people who are trying to move into a different career. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you, Sharon, for all you do for the community.
Happy to do
Yeah,
it.
thank you very much for having me and continuing to do this, because like I said, at the very beginning of the process for me, when I was like, I don't know how to network at all, your session was like, okay, here's a starting point.
Here we
I was
do.
able to make some connections, which then helped me make more connections, and even just being able to watch the sessions back for the ones that I wasn't able to come to, like even just the insights can be helpful. So yeah, thank you.
All right, everybody. I hope to see you back here Tuesday, November 4th, 7 to 8. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye all.
Thank you.
Bye.